gonna be like.
Good afternoon, everyone. The town of Hinton respectfully acknowledges that it is located on the First Peoples traditional lands. We recognize this traditional territory to show respect and understanding to those who walk this land since time immemorial. Today, we uphold our ongoing responsibility to work together in the spirit of the intent of the treaties with all the First Peoples and nations that call this place home. The town expresses gratitude for the opportunity to build a better community on these sacred lands for generations to come. With that, I'd like to call to order today's committee of the whole meeting for April 8th, 2025. First order of business is adoption of the agenda. Council, are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing nothing from council. Administration, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Okay, with that, I'd entertain motion. Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to move that we accept the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting for April 8th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Any discussion? Seeing none, if we could please vote now. Councillor Taylor in favor by hand. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. That brings us to the first order of business. Citizens minute with council. Are there any citizens who registered to present council today? Okay, no citizens registered. We'll move on to delegations and presentations. Item 4.1, Athabasca Watershed Council presented by Mitch. It's table.
Hi there, everyone. Thank you for having me. See here. Thank you. All right, hopefully this will work. But my name is Mitch. I'm with the Athabasca Watershed Council. I am relatively new with the organization and the Headwaters Project Coordinator, so focusing a lot of the council's efforts on the Hinton, Edson, Jasper areas. Nope. We do want to acknowledge that we do work within various traditional territories and treaty territories of many nations, specifically within the Hinton, Edson, and Whitecourt areas. So we're very grateful to continue working alongside First Peoples and working to conserve the watershed and improve the health of the Athabasca. So Athabasca Watershed Council was formed in 2009. We are a registered nonprofit. We were set up through the GOA for the Water for Life strategy back, I think that was in 2003. So we work to provide credible information about the watershed. We do data collection, a lot of research on cumulative effects and impacts to the watershed. And then we also work to identify and restore degraded areas. So riparian habitat, watercourse crossings, impacted culverts and fish habitat. We are one of the 11 WPACs, the Watershed Planning and Advisory Councils in the province. We're one of the largest. The Mighty Peace is the largest one, but we do cover quite a large area of Alberta's landmass. So through the Water for Life strategy, through the GOA, three main focus areas that we work within is safe and secure drinking water, healthy aquatic ecosystems, then reliable quality water, especially for industry and economic drivers. Athabasca River watershed is quite large, covers almost 25% of Alberta's landmass, and it's 1,231 kilometer long river. So flowing from the Columbia Icefield in Jasper all the way to Lake Athabasca. And of course, it's a very large watershed. There's a lot of different issues across the various regions and subbasins. So we've broken up the whole watershed into 10 subbasins. Then we've developed various initiatives throughout these areas here. I'll get into it a bit later, but we have quite a few active working groups, including one in the Headwaters region that we just created earlier this year. And we're really trying to focus more efforts westerly. So we've done quite a bit of work throughout West Loch, more of the northeast stretches of the watershed towards Fort McMurray. So we really want to focus our time and energy on Headwaters. Won't go through all of these, but we created an integrated watershed management plan a few years back. and we've identified 8 primary goals that we're working to fulfill. Essentially, it comes down to safe and secure drinking water sources, healthy habitats for fish and aquatic ecosystems, working with Indigenous peoples to help, inform our decision making through Indigenous knowledge and that collaboration. And then creating policies and plans that are aligned for watershed health. So through this, we've also created a bit of a roadmap to success. So through our IWMP, we have research, planning, and engagement that we focus on. And through that, we've been developing various initiatives. So the Healthy Shorelines Initiative, biomonitoring and data collection, regional working groups, rights holder and stakeholder engagement, source water protection, watershed education, and lake stewardship initiatives. Through all of that, we hope to continue having a healthy, sustainable watershed. So, but the biomonitoring project, we've been doing some of that work in the Upper Athabasca the past few years. Started in May 2020. We are going to be wrapping that up. Hopefully, we'll get some more funding provincially and federally to continue some of this work. But we worked with various partners to essentially sample the water quality in the Upper Athabasca. So a lot of industry, other human impacts on the water quality. So essentially we're collecting data at certain points and then uploading it into a larger database that can help inform, provincial policy, forestry and industry in the area. Just want to make sure that the state of these tributaries are healthy. We're also working quite a bit more with treaty relations and Indigenous engagement. I've been doing quite a bit of outreach to some of the nations and active communities out in this area. And we're just looking at ways that we can work together to increase capacity for community-based monitoring, fish habitat monitoring, restoration, data collection, and expanding that work for a lot of the nations and communities that utilize a lot of these areas for traditional uses, cultural uses. So we're trying to support those treaty and inherent rights by working together. As mentioned, we have quite a few regional working groups that are active right now. The Tuatna and Pembina have been active for a few years. Now we've also created one for the headwaters. We've only had one meeting so far. We're hoping to expand on that down the road. If anyone here is interested in partaking in that, let me know and I can get you signed up. But essentially it's aimed to be a think tank, having people that are active in the area and to help point us in the right direction of areas that may need, a bit of work, such as culvert remediation, stream bank stabilization, willow staking projects, and also just doing more data collection in this area for water quality sampling, and then that community outreach and education. I won't go too much into the previous meeting, but essentially the gist of it is there's quite a few areas down Great River, Tri Creeks, Mackenzie Creek. I know some other folks from FCC and some other organizations are working quite closely with Alberta Environment Protected Areas. There's some spawning species at risk, so we're trying to support some of those efforts there. But there's a lot of recreational use. So, OHV trails, folks that aren't necessarily playing by the rules, and it really is disturbing critical habitat. So we're trying to get our boots on the ground and get to know some of the local community groups and around Hinton and Edson that are, active in the recreation community, and work together to identify, if there's a certain area that people are taking their quads through some creeks, maybe we can work together to install some bridges and, mitigate some of these impacts that are ongoing, so. And then, of course, invasive species transmission is a big one too, with, a lot of crown land, a lot of folks going out camping, again, recreating. We want to make sure everyone's aware of the risks of spreading invasive species, whether it's whirling disease, invasive aquatic species or plant species, and then just really bolstering on the educational piece so that people are aware of the risks and that they can do all they can to mitigate that if they're, moving around different areas. So here's just a quick map of our headwaters working group focus area in the yellow. The Pembina there in light yellow has again been quite a bit more active over the past few years. They're a bit more well established, but we're working within these hot six subbasins, so Upper Athabasca, Upper McLeod. Hopefully we'll branch off and have you know, smaller community groups form from this larger headwaters working group, but it really is just more of an information sharing group right now. The Healthy Shorelines Initiative is another really successful initiative that we've been running. We've partnered with Bureau Biological Consulting the past few years to develop and employ riparian habitat assessments. So we've done the Pembina, the Tuatna, the Lower McLeod. We don't have any plans for doing that out in the Edson Jasper area, just because it works better with more agricultural land. But it gives us a good idea of areas we need to focus on for riparian restoration initiatives. And right now in Edson, we're doing a bit of work around Edson River. But they're a really handy tool, and there may be plans in the future to do some more work out this way. Through this initiative, there's 4 main objectives that we work within. So to produce information about the watershed, communicate that through outreach, workshops, community events, engage interested landowners and volunteers. That also includes the counties and municipalities, and then support local advisory groups to create better capacity and to guide those activities. We also just put a bit of information about the WRRP grant. I'm not sure if Hinton is aware of that, but it's through the province, and there is quite a bit of monies that can be put towards priority watersheds to improve flood and drought resiliency. So if you want any more information about that, I'd be happy to share that afterwards. And we just utilize a lot of information from the GOA too, about drought, flood scores, those sorts of things, just to help us prioritize our work in certain areas. So next steps. One thing I wanted to also mention too is we just got awarded an ECA grant for $12,000 to do some work in Hardesty Creek and some of the surrounding tributaries. I know there's been quite a bit of work that was done previously in the community, just around some of the culverts that were undercut and fragmenting some of the fish habitats. So we're hoping that we can work with the town to put together some type of event later this year once we get everything a bit more finalized. But really exciting news that we just got recently. And then we also want to work with the town a bit more. I'm not too sure how much outreach AWC has had with Hinton previously, but we really want to just brainstorm, discuss ideas of how we can support you know, some of the local creeks and tributaries in the area, maybe working with local community groups. I know that there are a few smaller clubs that I'd like to get in front of, such as the Whiskey Jack Club and a few others. But we're really just here to make an introduction, saying, you know, this is the work that we're doing. We're open to collaborating, having some discussion, and hopefully work to improve, again, some of these areas within the watershed. That's pretty much my whole ramble. Happy to take any questions, but thank you again for having me here today, and look forward to future conversations.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Taylor?
How would that WRRP grant help us within town boundaries?
What's that, sorry?
That grant you mentioned, the WRRP grant, help us within town boundaries.
Well, it really focuses on any waterways that you have within the community. So, you know, if there's areas that are prone to flooding or having issues through areas of drought, the province does have funding to help support initiatives that will provide money for projects that will help mitigate some of those risks.
Thanks.
Councillor Taylor? Maybe? Great, there's no other questions. I'd like to say thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. First one, Freedom. 5.1, council procedure by 3003. Administration.
thank you, Chair, to the rest of the committee. So I don't have a lot more to add to this report, but we did have a number of motions that were made at the previous committee of the whole meeting on this item. And we've outlined all the changes that have been made in the analysis here. So if there are any questions on those, we'd be happy to answer, but I believe that was fairly close. And based on our direction, we're bringing this forward one last time for council or for committee to provide their input. Once we're comfortable with, finalized draft, we will be sending it to the parliamentarian for a final review prior to it coming back to a committee of the whole.
Great, thank you, CAO. Over to us, committee, are there any comments or questions, anything we'd like to change? So Taylor,
I'd like to go with recommended consensus.
okay,
Basically, I read it through and I found a few minor things, but I couldn't find anything significant. Looks like what we talked about was considered.
okay, so council, we do have a direction request, it's the recommended action. Councilor Taylor, if you just want to have a look, just make sure that is the direction already.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Okay, committee, any questions? Okay. If there's no comments or questions. All direction request question. The committee reached consensus to have administration bring the draft council procedure bylaw number 2003 to a future committee of the whole meeting following Bob Brown's review. Committee, if you could please vote now. Councilor Taylor in favor of that. That is carried unanimously. Councilor Taylor?
Well, I did have a question and I missed it, but maybe I could ask it still. 6612, meeting through electronic communications. Facilities enable public to watch or listen to the meeting at a place specified in that notice. And a designated officer is in attendance at that place. Does that make sense? That you have a designated officer sitting with you at home when you watch a Zoom meeting? Is that what that means? Through the chair, sorry, which 6612. 6612, okay. I didn't quite understand it. Through the chair to members of committee, so the facilities doesn't necessarily mean facility in this context. It just means that we have to have a designated officer present, but it could be present electronically. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay, there's nothing else for council procedure bylaw. We will move on to reporting. Reports. I start right up, Councilor Taylor.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Councilor Taylor, Councilor Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last night I attended the candidate forum. There were 4 parties represented. The People's Party was there, Liberal, the NDP, all there in person, Conservatives were there over Zoom. I thought it was a good attendance, maybe 100+ people. I was really impressed with the couple of young people I saw there, and Brody getting up to the mic twice and speaking was super. Yesterday, I also attended a RPATH planning session meeting, and meeting is in regards to the second annual summit that's going to be held in Rimbey, May 27th. And it's a gathering of probably 25 to 30 people, and it's all about attraction and retention of healthcare professionals. And I'm really looking forward to it. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Reese, Councilor Creer, you have a question?
No. Is there any progress? Remember we, asked them to, we allowed them or, free up money in order to, attract, doctors. I'm just not remembering exactly what that initiative was, where they could, we could hire a recruiter to go get doctors, I believe it was. Has that started? Are we making any progress on that? Have we hired that guy? Is he starting to look for us? Or did you talk about that?
No, I'm looking at CEO. I really don't know where we are on that, if the money's been released or.
Through the chair, the members of the committee, we have issued the payment to the society, but I don't have any update as to if they have a recruiter hired or status for that.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Councilor Reese? No. Okay, Councilor Chambers,
I was able to attend a sold out show at the Guild last night, which was really nice to see. There was really good community support and certainly lots of good shows coming up there in the future. So it was nice to do that, but otherwise, nothing to report.
thank you, Councilor Haas.
Just, I attended the federal forum last night and, you know, it was a very good turnout, of the community. It was good to see, but more importantly, getting an opportunity to hear each of the candidates and, their platforms and what they can do for, or intending to do for our area, being such a large region, but also then as a representative of their party as well. So it was a good turnout and, yeah, it was an interesting forum here in each one. So, thank you. That's all.
Councilor Haas, Councilor Nadeau,
Nothing to report.
Councilor Nadeau, for myself, I have nothing to report. So that brings us to 6.2, Chief Administrative Officer Report and Status Report, March 2025 Operating Credits. See you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have anything to add, but we have included our March 2025 operating highlights in the report. So if there's any questions on that or anything else, we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, see you, Will. Councilor Haas.
Yeah, I do have a question on the completed and continuing projects. The golf cart course clubhouse inspection has been completed. And if I recall, there was, it was brought forward for the HVAC. But it was to look at inspecting that entire building to, is there any other problems, you know, coming forward? So I'm just curious what that inspection, if it brought anything forward that we're gonna be looking at for other capital expenditures at this time.
Through the chair to committee, we're still waiting on that report. We have had a meeting with them, and so I did have verbal conversations with the consultant as to what to expect. They did say that the main problems are the heating and ventilation system. They didn't really encounter anything other too major. They will be flagging one concern with the deck. There's appears to be some pile movement with one of the decks. But outside of that, it looks like most things will be as expected.
Thank you.
Councilor Taylor.
The HVAC repair was a big item in our budget. Did we approve that in our budget?
Through the chair to the committee, yes, it was approved subject to this report coming back to council for making sure there was no other major problems with the building before proceeding.
Councilor Taylor. Councilor Taylor again.
How many short-term rentals do we have now? Well, it was 135. 14 warning letters. Does anybody know how many we have?
Chair to committee, I don't know the number that we have. We, as it's noted in here, we had 14 that we had found out about, or and then we sent out letters, and that had all but 6 coming in and start the process for that. So that we did send out 6 fines. So, but that still leaves lots of room. Once we started investigating and getting better data through the app that we're subscribed to and stuff. Some of the ones that were in the initial numbers, we thought we had like over 120. Some of those were in the county, some of them were didn't exist at all. So the numbers have come down quite substantially, that we think we're getting on top of the ones that are actually out there. But I don't know the total number that we're at.
So we're below 120.
Well below.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Allison, and Councillor McGowan.
Yeah, to follow up on that, the contractor then, this app is the contractor that we budgeted for to I guess, police that, right? So, and that's working well?
It's working relatively well. We continue to work with them to improve it. Recently, we're trying to fix the problem with telling them the ones we know about, so that we're only looking at the ones that aren't approved. So we're filling out spreadsheets and submitting our information. So there's still bugs being worked out, but it's certainly helpful information. It does allow us to see what's out there.
Okay, if I may, that's good to hear, because that's the whole purpose of that, is at least we're building a database for that. So, excellent, thank you.
You, Councillor Haas. Maybe? Okay. Further questions? Sorry, Councillor McGowan, you withdrew from queue. I didn't even leave.
No, we're good.
Just for anybody who might be thinking about that close attention. Okay, if there's no other further questions regarding reporting, Chief Administrative Officer report. We do have one closed session item at this meeting today, so we entertain that.
I'd just like to see consensus to move to closed session.
Motion to go into closed session, any discussion? Seeing none, we could see that motion, please. Okay, committee, if we could please vote now. Councillor Taylor, including in favor of our vote. So that is carried unanimously.